Good afternoon again, everyone. If you're hearing me, kindly indicate by just saying yes, activating your mic and saying yes, or just entering yes in the chat.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
All right, thanks. Thanks for that,
Yes.
everyone. All right, so welcome to today's intermediate training session. Today's training session covers, as you can see from the flyer being shared, advanced tools in Moodle for knowledge acquisition and content presentation. I am Michaela Peck from the Office of Distance Learning. We're also joined by Mrs. Kamla Anderson, who is also from the Office of Distance Learning. So for today's session, as you can see on the flyer, as is indicated, the duration is 1.5 hours. For all training sessions, we're trying to keep it between 1 hour to 1.5 hours. All right. For the previous training sessions, we said an hour, but that did not work out very well in terms of us going over. So the cap is 1.5 hours. All right. If during the session you have any questions, feel free to ask by raising your hand, waiting to be acknowledged, and then you can activate your mic. Bottom center of your screen are 4 icons. The first icon shows an avatar picture if you have uploaded one of yourself. The second, if you click on it, it activates your mic for speaking. Clicking again disables same. Next icon activates camera, and the fourth icon is an avatar with a hand raised. If you wish to speak, you click on that icon, wait to be acknowledged, and then you can activate your mic. If you prefer not to speak but to text, you can use a chat feature. Bottom right of your course is a bottom right of the platform is a purple ribbon. It's called the Collaborate panel. When you click on it, the first icon you'll see is a chat bubble. Once you click on the chat bubble, you click on everyone and you'll be able to send a message within this session. I'm not sure how many persons were here. Well, how many persons are here today from last week's session, but last week we delved into and explored some collaboration and communication tools within Moodle, and these tools help to increase student engagement and interaction in the online classroom. The tools that we looked at were the forum, chat, choice, and the tool that we're using now, Blackboard Collaborate. And of course, we continue to advertise via the broadcast of the training schedule for the summer semester, upcoming training sessions, as well as the training modules online are being advertised, which you are required to take in order to receive the badges upon successful completion of each unit and certificate upon completion of each respective training module. So we have the basic, the intermediate, and advanced, and we're still doing the intermediate training sessions. So we're going to jump right into it. So for today, the tools we'll be exploring are the curriculum builder resource. All right. We're going to be looking at the glossary tool, and we also want to look at the lesson tool. And these are all classified as tools for knowledge acquisition and content presentation, simply because students are able to acquire knowledge from the content presented using these tools within Moodle. Now, the first tool that we want to look at is called the Curriculum Builder. All right. I'm not sure if this is a tool that anybody has used. It has existed within UTech Online for the past, I'd say, 5 years. And what it really is, and I'll start screen sharing shortly. What it really is, it's a tool that allows teachers to quickly and easily create a reading list for their students. So it actually allows us the expansive use of the Calvin McCain library, electronically, of course, for viewing ebooks, journals, articles, publications, and other useful digital resources for students. So it's a service that is provided by EBSCO Connect. Not sure how many of us are familiar with that company. And the curriculum builder is a very convenient tool because it allows you as a teacher to integrate these resources directly into your course online from the repository that they have at the Calvin McCain Library. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing the flyer, and I'm just gonna start the general screen sharing. All right, so in a matter of seconds, you should be able to see my screen. All right, so you should be able to see it now. So we want to look at the curriculum builder first. Now, remember that we go to LMS Dev for the creation of all of these lovely tools, because remember that this is where we the training modules that we actually take takes us to this platform for the creation of our courses. I'm currently displaying the intermediate training online within the live site, which is UTech Online. Okay, last week we looked at Unit 1, and this week we're looking into Unit 2. And once you follow step by step, you'll be taken through the process of actually reaching the course that you would have created from the basic training. Remember, you need a course. All right, so you'd have to have a course from the basic training module. You would have had to create the course, start populating it to get to this point of adding more advanced tools. Okay, so the link for LMS Dev, it's actually in the course somewhere. Can't really find it now. It's also right, so it's right here. So it's just a link. You just click on it and it takes you there. All right, so these are the instructions, not the link. Let me see if the link is actually placed somewhere else. So typically you would get the link from the basic training, or you just go to LMS Dev and you log in. All right, so I'm just going to quickly show you the link in the basic training course, because I know that some persons might forget what the link is. Probably we should plug it into the intermediate course as well. So the link is right here. You click on it and it takes you directly to the sandbox. All right, so the login is the same as UTech Online, and once you enter, you'll be able to find the course you had already created, or you'll be able to create a new course. All right, and all of that was explained in the basic training. If that is something that you missed, sorry, you can always come back to this course, which is the Moodle Basic Training Online course. Okay, and you'll be able to go through the steps to creating your course. If you don't have access to this course, in that you're not seeing it on your dashboard, you can send me an email or Mrs. Anderson an email, and we will add you manually to the course. Okay, so LMS Dev, that is where we're doing our course population from. And for the past few weeks, I've been working from the online module I created. I believe it's this one, Moodle Basic Training Session. All right, and we had populated in last week's session and the week before Unit 1 and Unit 2. All right, so the 3 tools that we'll be looking at today, we'll be putting those in Unit 3. Okay, can anybody advise now? First step, can anybody advise after editing is turned on? How do I go about giving topic 3 a new name? Can anybody raise their hand to help? How do I give topic 3 a name? What do I do? Where do I go? Okay. All right. That's Misha Marie Paul. Yes, you can take the mic and tell me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. I'm hearing you.
Right, and you can, double click. You can click on that pen beside the name to edit the name of this topic. But your edit mode should have been turned on. I think you turned it on before.
Right, right. Very well. All right, thanks for that. So since you are able to give us these wonderful instructions, can you just give me a random topic name as well?
Right.
Right.
Crochet patterns.
Repeat that.
Crochet patterns, only because I'm actually crocheting right now, so that's the only thing in my head.
No problem. No problem. All right, so we're working with crochet patterns for our third topic. Thanks for that. All right, so what we're going to be doing, we're going to be integrating the curriculum builder tool within this unit 3. All right, when you're naming your units, it's good to you know, put the unit number, or you could say topic, but be guided by your syllabus, of course, when you are entering these names, just for visibility for your students. All right, so they can clearly see when we say topic or topic through our unit 3, she's actually referring to crochet patterns. All right, okay, so we are going to go through the process of adding this resource or activity. So add an activity or resource. From the activities list, we're looking for curriculum builder. So I just explained to you what the curriculum builder is, but I'm also going to click on the I for more information so we can get additional information. Okay, so it says it allows teachers to easily create and manage course reading lists right from the Moodle LMS. All right, it brings to you the world of quality databases, ebooks, other digital resources. It's also connected to the Calvin McCain Library knowledge database. Right, so it basically allows you to pull from the electronic database to readily provide your students with resources for them to access, to read and access. Okay, that's pretty much what it is. I'm just going to go back because I also want to show you that the curriculum builder can also be added through the external tool. You'd realize they have the same icon. Good. What is the external tool? The external tool is really, as the name suggests, it basically allows you to plug in tools external to Moodle, but of course they have to have same compatibility in terms of standard format. So you can't put every single external tool within this resource. You can't plug everything in. It has to match a certain standard. So I'm going to be showing you how you can use the external tool as well as a curriculum builder to add the external tool. So when I click on external tool, I will just give it a name. So I'm going to call this various patterns within the crochet technique. All right, and from the drop down, I will just select curriculum builder. All right, and that would basically be it. I would click on save and display. So it's loading this screen, so I'll be able to search a Calvin McCain library resources from here. Okay, so the other way, which is directly from the curriculum builder activity, click on activities, click on curriculum builder. Okay, and it's basically the same thing. So I'm just going to copy and paste the name that I have here, various patterns within the crochet technique. All right, if you click on show more, you can of course add an activity description for your students to know exactly what they'll be seeing within this particular resource. Okay, and then these are fields that we're not required to fill out. I've never filled these out before, so it's not a required set of fields that you need to enter information in. You simply scroll down and click on save and display. Okay, now I'm gonna be searching the library resources. I'm hoping crochet is not something hard for me to get information on from the library. All right, so I'm just gonna type in crochet. Okay, if you realize here, you can search by keyword, author, or title. So if there's a book that you know the title of, you can enter it. If you want to search by author, that's possible as well. I always say the safest way to search is by your keyword. If you don't necessarily want specific results, you can search by your keyword. All right, so we're going to click on search, and this might take a couple of seconds to provide results. Good. Okay, so we have 42,217 results here. There is an ebook. So to the left, you can see the type of resource that it is, right? This shows you the title of the resource, by shows the author, and there is additional information provided about the book. Okay, so I'm just gonna click on it. All right, and I'm scrolling down. So what we're seeing here, we're not seeing the actual book or the full book in its entirety. And it's very good for us to explore what we are giving to our students to read before we actually just add it to the reading list. All right, there has to be accessible content for them. All right, so we're gonna go back to the results. All right, and one of the things I like about this particular tool is that it allows you to search the source type that you want. But before we look at that, let us look at the Crochet Lodge.
Okay.
I'm gonna click on online access. All right, somebody's mic is activated. Somebody needs to speak. No? Okay. All right, so this here is another document. So this is something that we don't seem to have access to either, because this actually took us to a what you call an external platform, 18th century drama. I guess this is something that you can register for, right? Or it's something that allows institutions to start to subscribe. But if the University of Technology doesn't have a subscription, then we would be able to have free access. All right. So what we have to do, we have to explore. What I normally advise, to cut out all of this, you can choose your source type. All right, because with the source type, you basically get to do more specific you get more specific search results. All right, so we're going to look at that shortly. This is a periodical. There's a PDF for it. So let's say this is something that we wanted our students to view. But we have to click to view it first, ensure that access is there for the students. All right. Okay. So this is provided in PDF. So we are able to view this. Let's say this is something that we wanted to add to our reading list. We would click on add to reading list. Sometimes we get confused because some persons click the button, the add button above the resource. No, it's a button below the resource that allows you to add it. All right, so add to reading list. So we're going to scroll up and filter our search. All right, so to the left here in the left column, it has source type, subject, publisher, and the list goes on. If I click in source type, let's say I only wanted ebooks, right? I can click on ebooks. It shows me that there are 9,375 results for ebooks, and it's just going to show me all of the available ebooks. Okay. All right, so it's showing some other results as well. I'm seeing educational technology, not sure how well that ties into crochet. Okay, but we have to eyeball and look properly at what we're seeing. All right, so let's say I wanted this. Let's say this was a useful resource for my students. I could just click on retrieve from CalCut. All right. And I'm going to scroll down. It says this is available online. So I can click on available online to get electronic access to it. And this is the library's online database. So you just enter your regular login, which is your username and your password that you use to access your computer. You take online LMS Dev and click on login. All right. And it basically allows access for the book to be downloaded in PDF format. So if I click on this link here, okay, it has given me the full book, and I can scroll down, look through, just to ensure everything is there. All right, and then I would close this page as well, and I can safely add this to my reading list. So it can be some work because you want to be able to ensure that these are things that students will be able to access. All right, so we have to go through. If it's something that is accessible and you find it beneficial for your students, you simply click on add to reading list and you keep going. You are not limited to the amount of resources you can add to your reading list. However, you can create folders to classify the resources into different areas so that students don't get confused. We're going to be looking at that as well. So I'm going to add 2 more resources. Just going to add 2 random resources, 2 additional random resources. And I'm going to scroll up. Okay. And where it says see current reading list, this is where we would actually go to view what we have saved in our reading list. Remember that we have to add to reading list to be able to see what we have viewed. All right, so see current reading list. Good. And when I scroll down, it's showing me all the resources I have added. One thing about crochet, other things about educational technology. All right, and at the top of this reading list, there are some options. I can add a folder. Let's say I wanted to categorize these reading lists or break them down, right, into folders for students to be able to better access them. I could create multiple folders and I could move these resources into their respective folders. So I'm going to call this crochet techniques readings. All right, and then I'm going to click on create folder. All right, so this sometimes take a little while to load. All right, so I clicked on the button twice, so we're seeing the folder twice, but we can always remove one. Okay, so I'm just gonna click on the delete button. It says, are you sure? I'm gonna click on OK, because the curriculum builder resource, it kind of moves a little bit slow. All right, so that is the folder that we have here. Lessons in accounting, not sure when this folder was created in this course, but it's showing me that this reading list has 2 folders. We just created this one. All right, okay, so the next thing that we want to look at is the option that says, so okay, we have the folder. How do we go about putting the resources in the folder? Because the folder is just there, it says 0 items. Right, so what you would do, you would scroll down to where the resources are. Okay, and where it says move to folder, you click on the drop down and you click on the folder that you want to move that resource to. So if I click on crochet techniques readings, it's gonna just move to that folder. All right, so that is there. I'm gonna just click on another resource. Let's say I wanted to move this one to crochet techniques. All right, so that one is there as well. So we're gonna scroll up, and now it tells us that this folder has 2 items. And if I click on the folder, it will show me the 2 items that are contained in it. Okay, it says that these are the 2 items in this folder. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the main list, because we have options to add general text or instructions. Okay, so let's say you wanted to give your students instructions, example read chapter 5 in a particular textbook, you can do that, right? If you want to add another external resource to this reading list, let's say you found another online repository with useful information, another library that you wanted to share with your students, you could enter the link here, enter the title for the link, and you can also place it in a folder. Okay, so let's say there's a library online. That's the link. I could put right, and then I could place the folder that I want to put this in and click on add to reading list. Okay, and then further down, we actually have the resources that were not placed in a folder. Okay, everything does not have to be placed in a folder, but if you don't place something in a folder, it will show in the main area, which is here. You have the option of sorting. So let's say you wanted this to appear in a particular order. You could put this at 2. If you want it to appear as a second resource, you could put this at 3, and so on and so forth. So you can change the order that you want these to appear in, or you can drag and drop them if that works better for you. You also have the option of giving specific notes to each resource, which is very important and different from the wider or general text or instructions option. This ebook, I don't want my students to read the entire ebook. I could add in the notes here to students. All right, or you could specify pages 500 to 502. All right, so you click on save notes, and I'll show you what the student's view looks like shortly. All right, if you want to edit the notes, you can always click on edit. Okay, let's say you no longer find a resource useful, you want to remove it, you want to delete it. How do you do that? The delete button is to the right of each resource. You simply click on it, and it doesn't prompt you, it just removes it. So you have to be sure that this is something that you want to do away with. All right, so how do the students view this now? So I'm just going to go back to the main course page. All right, this is the first one we had created using the external tool, so nothing is in this. I'm just going to delete it. All right, and this is the one that we created using the curriculum builder tool. So I'm going to switch my role to student. So top right, switch role to, select student, and click on it just to get a view of how the student sees this resource. So this is how it comes up. This is how it shows up to the student. They'll be able to see the folder, and if they click on the folder, they'll be able to see the 3 items within the folder, which is right. These are the 3 items. So we have the link to the external website. We have the 2 ebooks, when an ebook and a periodical. Right, so the student will be able to click to view whatever is there. I'm gonna go back to the main list to show the additional resources that were not placed in a folder. All right, and of course they'll be able to see any notes you have appended to any resource. All right, Miss Riley, you have a question? You can take the mic.
Suppose I wanted to add videos. Does the system allow me to?
Right, so that's a good question. So when you are doing your search, remember I had shown you that you have the option of selecting the resource type, or the source type rather. So if you see videos as one of the source types, yes, you'll be able to click on that and it would show you the videos based on the search criteria you have entered. All right, so once that is something that is accessible from the electronic repository, you'd be able to integrate that. However, remember that there are many other ways that you can insert a video, whether it's a video you have recorded or a YouTube video. You can use a file resource to upload a video you have recorded or one that is on your computer, or you can use a label or page resource to embed a video from YouTube. All right, does that help, Miss Riley?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna now go back into, just gonna switch my role back to normal, return to my normal role. Gonna click here. All right, so I'm gonna enter, since educational technology is here, I'm gonna search again. All right, and we're within the same reading list, within the same CB tool, because I want to show you to the left that you can filter your results. Let's say you only wanted CalCut only, peer reviewed only. If you only wanted a particular subject, based on keywords, right? Particular publisher. All of that information is here from a particular university, category, all right? But it's always very important. I'll tell you, I'll be honest. There are sometimes, like today, I've typed a particular keyword and it shows results for other things as well. So you have to look through just to ensure it's technology, things will happen, it will fail, but you have to look through for yourself as a lecturer to ensure that whatever you are adding to the reading list is relevant to the subject or to the topic that you are presenting to your students. Yumura, you can go ahead. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. You can take the
Okay.
mic.
Yeah. I'm wondering, this process must be done in LMS Dev. We can't edit from past Moodle.
Okay, that's a good question. So for those who weren't here, probably last week or for the basic training, Moodle, LMS Dev and UTech Online are both Moodle. However, LMS Dev is the development space or what we call the sandbox. So if you are creating your course for the very first time from scratch as a platform from which you would actually create your course.
Okay.
If you currently have your course with UTech Online, which is a live environment where students have access, you can still do all of this. So you are still able to go in, delete, modify, add things to your course to enhance its delivery. So yes, it's possible in both platforms.
Okay, so both I can do it.
Right. So what you can do in Dev, you should be able to do it in UTech Online as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Grant, you had a question, sir. Saw your hand was raised. Can take the mic. Mr. Grant, no? Okay. All right, so we'll continue. We will continue. Right, so I was just showing you the left column, which provides, other options you can click on to filter your search. Okay, we're gonna move on to our next tool. Do we have any questions on the curriculum builder before we proceed? Is there anything that is unclear to you thus far that requires, further clarification? Okay. All right. Thanks for that, Mr. Grant. Everybody else is silent, so I'll take that as everybody is good. Okay. So the next tool we want to look at as part of today's training is the lesson tool. All right. Now, this tool enables you as the online teacher, the online facilitator, to create different types of learning paths to assess your students' understanding of what you're teaching them. Right? And the lesson can be built to progress through a series of connected, we call them content pages, and they contain a combination of written content. It can have questions, it can have prompts. And of course, these pages can contain multimedia such as text, images, audio, and video components, links as well, just to help to build the learning path for the student. So in simpler terms, you can have content pages and then at some point you can break away into like a prompt or a little quiz just to test your students' knowledge of what you have already presented to them. When they're through taking the quiz, or let's say they have attempted a question and their response is not correct, you can create a hyperlink to take them back to a space in the lesson that allows them to revisit a particular concept. All right, so I am going to, because I switched my role to student, editing was turned off, so I'm going to turn editing back on. Add an activity or resource, and that is of course under activities. And we're going to click on the information icon to see the additional information here. So it says it enables the teacher to deliver content and practice activities in interesting and flexible ways. So the teacher can use the lesson to create a set of linear content pages or instructional activities that offer a variety of paths for the learner. In either case, the teacher can choose to create and to increase rather engagement and ensure understanding by including a variety of questions. So this can be multiple choice, matching short answer, and depending on the student's choice of answer and how the teacher develops the lesson, the students may progress to the next page or to be directed to a different path entirely in the lesson. Right, and of course the lesson activity can be graded, and of course all grades are recorded in the grade book. The lessons may be used for self-directed learning of a new topic, for scenarios or simulations, for decision-making exercises, and for differentiated revision. All right, so remember, at any point if you feel as though you don't have adequate information on a particular activity or resource that you want to use, you can click on the I, which is the information icon. It takes you here and it provides information that can help to guide you. So I'm going to click on add. Good. And I have an open document here, a sample document that I use for all my training sessions. I'm just going to be pulling from it just to save time so I don't have to type. All right, so I'm going to give my lesson a name. Good. And remember that all activities and most resources carry a description box. You're not required to fill it out, but if you want to brief the students on what the lesson is about, you can enter the description here. Below that box, we have the appearance feature. Do you want to show the progress bar for the students to see how they are progressing through the lesson? Yes or no. I'm going to click on yes. Do you want to display the lesson menu to the students? I'm going to click on yes. Under availability, you get to set the dates, just as with most activities. When is this open? When do you want to open the lesson? Is there a deadline for the lesson? You get to set the day, month, year, and time. All right. Do you also want to limit them in terms of a particular like duration? Let's say you only want them to spend 60 minutes. You can enter a time limit as well. Just like with the quiz, you can enter a time limit. All right, because you have some persons as well who use the lesson not for content presentation but solely for the purpose of quiz creation. So just questions to the students. So it can be creatively used in a variety of ways. Next, we have flow control. Do you want to allow the student to do a review? So after they have taken the lesson, do you want them to be able to go back from the start of the lesson to see what they have done straight back to the end, right? Do you want to provide option to try a question again? Do you want to provide maximum number of attempts per question? So this is for the quiz part of it. All right, so these are options that you can explore and enable based on the type of lesson activity you're creating for your students. Okay, so we have the name. We're going to scroll down, and for activities like this, we're not going to save and return to course because we haven't set up the activity as yet. So we save and display. All right, and it says, what do you want to do first? Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 questions. Well, 4 options here. The first option is to import questions. So remember, if you were here for any training session where we actually did quiz creation or troubleshooting quiz, you would have seen that we were able to import questions using different formats: the exam format, the Aiken format, the gift format. So this is basically the same option. So if I click on import questions, it's going to give me all of the formats. I can select the format that I am importing my questions using. So if you already have the questions prepared and you want to import them to the lesson, that is an option. All right. The next option says add a cluster. So the cluster typically contains the question pages, such as the multiple choice, the short answers. And when you use this option, the questions are presented randomly to the students who do the lesson. So you don't get to choose the order of questions. All right, so that is basically the addition of a cluster. And then you have add a content page. As the name suggests, a page that allows you to put any type of content on: text, images, pictures, links, tables, and the list goes on. And then we have add a question page. With this option, you get to add a quiz question. Now, for these 4 options, there's no particular order you have to observe to use them. You can use them at any point. You can add a content page, then you add a question page, then you add a cluster, and you can import your questions. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna do is to add a content page. Remember, we're copying and pasting from this document here. So my topic here is gonna be laptops, page content, Control-C to copy, Control-V to paste. Okay, now we're gonna add an image here. Remember the icon that we use from the toolbar allows me to insert or edit an image. Just gonna click on that, browse repositories. All right, and I am going to find an image of a laptop here. All right, so we're just gonna use this image, double click on it, and upload this file. Okay, and before last week we looked at the importance of describing the image for somebody who can't see it, called an alternate image, or alt image for short. If the image does not appear, let's say for some reason the image is broken, or probably you used a link and the link is broken, the image cannot be displayed, you want to put a description where when persons see that description, they know what the image was about. All right, so I'm going to put image displaying the laptop device. Okay, if you choose to not put an image, you can click on this image is decorative only, which would disable this feature. All right, the image is rather large, so I'm going to resize it. So I'm going to just put 300, and it's automatically resized for me. I'm going to click on save image, and the image is there. If I wanted to center align this image, I would click on the image, click to show more options, and click center alignment. All right, so this is what we have on our first page. So I'm gonna scroll down, and this is very important. Remember, it's a lesson. We're creating a series of content pages, question pages, clusters. Right? We want students to be able to jump to different points in the lesson. So we have to create buttons or hyperlinks. Okay, a hyperlink is basically a button where when clicked takes you to another space on the internet, whether it's external or internal to whatever you're working on. So I want students, after looking at the first lesson page, to jump to the second lesson page. So what I'm going to do, I'm in the description box, I'm going to put next page. And the jump or the hyperlink is going to be next page. So what I just did, I created a button called next page, and I created a hyperlink for next page, which of course is next page as well. If I selected previous page, it would go 1 page back, which would create an error because there's no before page. This is my first page, right? So it's going to be next page. I'm going to scroll down, click on save. Okay, and this is a table I get which shows the pages or page thus far I've set up. To preview it, I would click on the magnifying glass. Okay, and this is what that looks like. This is my next page button. So when I click on it, it would take me to the next page. I don't have a next page as yet, so I won't click. Remember, we had also selected the menu option to be shown. So the menu is shown to the right of the lesson. Okay, so let's add some more pages. To do that, you would click on edit. Good. And we're going to add a new page. Add a content page, another content page. Okay, so this time it's going to be about smart boards and interactive whiteboards. All right, so we're going to copy and paste this information as well. Okay, all right, we are going to go to YouTube to embed a video. So we don't want the link to the video, we want the actual video on smart boards to be integrated below the text here. Is anybody able to direct me on how to do that step by step? How to go to YouTube, search for the video, grab the embed code, and put it in this page content box? Anybody at all wants to try to assist me? I know we have bright sparks here today. All right. All right, Miss Paul. Excellent. So you can activate your mic and take me through.
Okay, so you want to share a YouTube video, you want to embed a YouTube video in this page,
That's correct, yes.
or the link, or is the link?
No,
Okay,
the actual
so the
video.
first thing you want to do is open up a new, okay. So what you want to do is go to a new tab and open up YouTube and find the content that you want. It's best to watch it first to make sure that it has like appropriate language and the topic that you want. So if this is you had said smart boards, you can choose it and make sure that the one you're choosing is decent and up to the quality that you need. And then you would copy that link, either going to the address bar, or there's a copy link that YouTube has at the bottom of the video. There's a share button, and the share button would have the link. So there's a share button with the arrow. You can click on that, and then you can copy that link that you see.
Okay, so that is this area you're talking
you
about that
use the
says
embed. Oh, you would use the embed, right?
Okay.
I wasn't sure.
Alright.
Yeah, the embed button you could use, and you can copy that information.
Okay. All right. So where would I go
And
now?
you
Thanks
can
for
look
that.
at the player
I think this
controls
is
as
a little
well.
bit delayed. I think you're hearing me probably seconds after I speak. So what's next for me now?
Yes. Then you go back to where you wanted to go and put your cursor where you want to go. And I think you'll find I'm not seeing it here. Maybe it's where the video icon is. I think that's it, but I'm not quite sure from now on. Or you may have to look. Is it that insert an audio or video file? I think that might be it.
All right, so this would be
I'm not
if
quite
I
sure from
put
here,
the
Miss.
URL there, but I'm not putting the URL.
The
I just copy an embed code which I want to put within this space for the video to show, not the link. All right, so anybody wants to pick up? Anybody wants to pick up and help? Thanks a lot for that. You took us a mighty way, Miss Paul. Anybody wants to pick up to help, Mr. Panther? You can take the mic if you're able to help, sir.
It's at the first icon, I think it is, at the left, yes. And that will show advanced options. And then at the end, you have the embed, right? HTML link, you click on that.
All right.
And then you go to the end of the page. Right, and that is where you would now paste the code.
Okay, lovely. Thanks a lot for that. So what else do I do from here?
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes. What else do I do? Because I'm still seeing the embedded code. What do I need to click to see the actual video now?
All right, so
spot the HTML code icon.
Okay.
Yes. And that will take you back to where you'll see the right, and there we go.
Woo! Yay! Excellent work. Excellent work. Excellent teamwork. All right, so thanks for that. So I hope everybody was just now able to see how you integrate the video. So we had two options. We could have used that link, but the link would have actually taken the student to YouTube to watch the video and then to get lost watching other videos. All right, we don't really want them to navigate away from Moodle. So this actually plugs the video in so they don't have to navigate, just click and they'd be able to watch the video. All right, so we have our information for the second page. When we scroll down now, we have to create two buttons. One for previous page, one for next page. Two buttons have to be created. So in the description, we're going to create the first button, which is previous page. That's the name of the button. And then the hyperlink has to jump to the one that says previous. All right, so that is one page so far. And then we have to create a second page hyperlink for the next page. All right, so under content 2, we're going to call the next button next page. and the jump would be next page as well. So don't get me wrong, you could add anything in the description. It's just naming the button. Let's say you wanted to call the button the actual name of the other page, like the topic of the other page. That is possible. Or anything else you'd want to put. It just needs to be clear to the student that once they click this, they're jumping to that particular page. All right, and then we click on Save Page and let us preview. Okay, so this is our first page. Top right, we can see our menu with the hyperlinks as well. When we scroll down, we have the next page button. Jump to the next page. It shows us our content. Students can click to watch their video, right? And then it shows previous page and next page. So if I click on previous page, it takes the student back to the first page. All right, I think we have a hand raised. Did we have a hand raised? Yes, Miss Paul, you can go ahead.
Just to remind me, what is it what we're doing again? What is it? What was the topic? We're doing adding a lesson.
Right.
Adding a lesson. Okay. Okay.
That's correct. Yes. All right. So thus far in our lesson, we have 2 content pages. So let's say we wanted now to quiz the student on what information is there thus far, just to test them to see if they are grasping anything. We could now add a content page. Okay, so I'm going to click on edit. We're going to add not a content page, a question page rather. Or if we have you know, some questions, bulk questions that we wanted to import, we could use the option to add to import the content, quiz content. Okay, so what we're going to be using, the option that says add a question page. Now you would realize that I have the option here as well, because if I wanted the questions to appear after the first page, this is where I'd actually click to enter it. If I wanted to appear after the second page, this is where I would click to enter it. If I wanted to reorder these pages, I could do so by using this arrow. Right? If I want to edit the page, I would click on the update page button, which is a gear icon. If I wanted to duplicate, I would click on this to preview, click here to delete, click here. Okay, so I'm going to click on add a new page, and I'm going to add a question page. And it could be an essay type, true or false, short answer, numerical, matching, or multiple choice question. Those are the options I have. I'm going to choose multiple choice because I think I have some multiple choice questions here that I can pull from. Let's just confirm before I actually write. Okay, so multi-choice is the option, add a question page. All right, and for the page title, I'm going to just put question 1. Okay, for page contents, I'm going to copy the question text. Control V to paste. I'm just going to remove the 1. Okay, and if this is a question that has multiple correct answers, I could always tick this, but in my case, no. Okay, so the first answer, copy and paste. Okay, and you'd realize a response box. If this is the incorrect answer, I could give feedback to the students to say, you have selected the incorrect response. Or I could use a moving image with a thumbs down to indicate that the response is incorrect. All right, so incorrect response. Okay, and then where do you want them to jump to if they have selected the incorrect response? You could take them back to somewhere in the lesson that actually would be able to provide them with the correct response. Okay, and that could be the laptops page, it could be the smartboard page. So I'm going to click smartboard. Okay, this is the incorrect response, so we're going to change the score. By default, the system has it at 1. We're going to change this to 0. Good. Let's move down. Answer 2. Okay, and we're going to put the same feedback, incorrect response, and we want them to jump back to this page. Answer 3. Okay, I'm going to copy and paste this. So this one is a correct response. So we're gonna say correct, good job. All right, and then we want them to jump to the next page if they have successfully answered. All right, so we're going to put this at next page, and we're going to change the score to 1 to indicate to the system that this is in fact the correct response. All right, so we have our questions. We have 3 possible answers, 1 correct answer. We're going to scroll down, save page, and let's preview the question. This is what it looks like. So we're gonna shortly just go through the entire lesson just to see how the hyperlinks and the jumps and the buttons work. All right, let's go to edit and add another question. All right, I think we have a hand raised. Miss Hall, you can take the mic.
Okay, so we're saying in this case, we must use that option saying the answer is incorrect and so on. We must do that here because no, normally when we stop a quiz, we don't do that. But because of what we're doing, where we want to direct the students, we must say to them the answer is incorrect and then direct them to where in the notes they could find the correct answer.
Well, not you must. I mean, you have the autonomy to not or to. However, it's just for the purpose of properly guiding the students, because whether or not, so let's say whether or not you put a feedback, if the answer is incorrect, because the system has 0 as a score, the system would be able to return to the student an X to show them that they have selected the incorrect response. But just for, you know, you can personalize the response to the student if you want to. Right, and then you can also hyperlink just to guide the students to a space in the lesson that they can revisit to better answer the question.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So we're gonna add another question. All right. So add a new page. Add a question page. All right. So this time let's do an essay type question. Add question page. All right. And let's say this is an essay type question because I can't think of one right now. I'm gonna call this question 2. All right, so let's say this is an essay type question. I'm gonna put a question mark at the end. We scroll down. How many scores? Well, what is the score that we want to give to the student? I'm gonna change this to 5 since it's an essay type question. And where do you want them to jump to? Remember that the system cannot mark essay type questions. All essay type questions have to be manually marked by the lecturer. All right, so of course we want them to jump to the next page, whether or not their response is correct for this. Okay, so we're gonna click on save page, and we're gonna enter one more page, which is a content page. Okay, and we are going to call this page something. Congratulations, you have reached the end of this lesson. Mr. McLeish, yes, you can take the mic.
Yes, it's just, this is not exactly related to what you're doing, but I want to question you about previous tests and exam. I noticed with the new version of Moodle that I don't have access to a test or exam that I've set in 2020 since the pandemic. And so I'm asking, how do I get access to archive stuff? Because I used to get it before you updated the version of Moodle, but I have no access now. So could you clarify that for me, please?
Okay, right. So we actually do have a Moodle archive site. Of course, students don't have access to it, only administrators and lecturers. So what you would need is the link to the site, and then your username and password is the same that you use to access LMS Dev and UTech Online. So once you log in, you'd be able to see the past course or courses. Have you ever seen that link before or used it, Mr. McLeish?
I'm not. That's why I'm asking. So I wanted to know where on the Moodle platform would I have access to that?
Okay, so I'm gonna send an email to you with the direct link. So you just need to click on it to gain access. All right.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so I'm just making a note here. So after the session, that will be sent to you. All right. So page tied to the end, you have reached the end of this lesson. And of course, this lesson is very short just because it's a Moodle demonstration training session. You could add so much more if you wanted to this lesson. Good. Description for this button, the end, and then we would want for it to jump to the end of the lesson. So there's a hyperlink for everything, end of lesson. Okay, and then we click on save. All right, so that is what the lesson looks like. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to the main course page, switch my role to student to preview the lesson. Sometimes, I must say, sometimes when we switch our role to student, it doesn't give a true view of what the student sees. So what we normally do as admin sometimes is to use a dummy student account to test the activity or the resource. In this case, I don't have one for this site, so I'm just going to switch my role to student to test this lesson. So top right, where my name is, switch role to student. All right, and this is the lesson here. All right, just to start from the top. So we have the menu here. We have the content for the first page. So the progress bar is shown here. So remember that I initially went through some part of the lesson. So it's telling, well, I guess I don't think that is what it is. I think this is where I'm now. It's telling me I've completed 40% of the lesson. Right, so it could have been my progress before because I was in as admin before. Now I'm in as student. So basically, it's probably saying where I'm in the lesson now. I've completed 40%. All right, so it shows the progress bar to the student and they can navigate using the menu options here or the button. So next page takes me here. Okay, next page. Okay, so where does the word technology come from? Okay, so let's say if I clicked on technique and clicked on submit, it says your answer you enter this technique, that is the incorrect response. This is the feedback that I had set up, remember? All right, so if I click on continue, it jumps to somewhere in the document as I had set it up for the student to revisit and just to see how they can better their response. All right, so I'm going to jump back to reattempt the question. I think the correct response is technique, right? So I click on that, submit. Okay, so it says maximum number of attempts reached. So it's good to always test these things. Remember, when we were setting up the lesson, we had selected the option, I think, for 1 attempt. Okay, so 1 attempt per question. So this is why it's important sometimes to test and to switch your role to student just to ensure that the student gets the best experience. All right, so what I'd have to do, I'd have to go back to edit the lesson to change the number of attempts. But I'm going to click on continue just to continue taking us through the lesson. The next question is, whatever that question is, students would enter their response here. This is an essay type question. All right, they would click on submit and it says, congrats, you have reached the end of this lesson. Click on the end. Okay, and now it shows 100% progress throughout the lesson. Do we have a question? Mr. McLeish, let me just lower his hand. His question was answered earlier. All right. Just a second, Miss Paul. I don't know if I had mentioned, we're not emailing copies of the recordings to persons. What we're doing, we are putting the recording in the training modules online. Good. So for this particular session, it's the Moodle intermediate training. Okay, so the session recording will be uploaded. So for unit 1, you would have seen the session recording there from last week. For unit 2, which is today's session, the same thing will be done. All right, so after this session, once the recording is available to me, I will upload it here. So this is where you can access it from. Miss Francis. All right, Miss Paul, you can go ahead and take the mic. I'm not hearing Miss Paul. Yeah, your internet connection is very poor. I'm seeing here. So I'm not hearing you. Yeah, still not hearing. It sounds very cartoonish. The reception is quite poor, very poor. All right. So if you prefer to, you could leave and come back, Miss Paul, or you could type using the chat. Mr. Warren.
Good afternoon. All right, thank you. I was just, well, about the essay question that you cannot enter or answer in. There's an option if you use a short answer, is it? Short answer questions. Because you actually can match, the students' responses can be matched with the answer that you build in the exam. In the test.
Right.
So,
However, right, go ahead, finish, Mr.
No, I think basically that's what I was trying to get clarified. And I wanted to ask, in a sense, why wouldn't it be available in the essay also? Because you could have main points in the essay that the students' points should be able to match up or not with, but.
No, ma'am. Short answer and essay type questions are two different types of questions, two different formatted questions. Typically, when the lecturer asks an essay type question, is for students to type their response, probably sharing their own opinion, right? The short answer question is different, which is still an option as well, but that is where that format is required, where probably a 1 word or 2 words are required to fill in a sentence, probably a word that is missing or 2 words that are missing from a sentence. Right, or a question being asked for probably a 1 or 2 word to be provided as the answer. The essay type question is probably normally paragraph based, and the system cannot mark that because there's no possible way you could know what your students' response would be word for each individual student. Okay, so the essay type question is not that it can't be marked, just that the system can't mark it, but I'll be showing you shortly how you can go in and mark the students' response to the essay type question. What was the second? I think your question had a second part, Mr. Warren, did it?
No, that's just about it. Thank you.
Okay, is my response clear to you?
Yes, no, I understood. Well, maybe the second part of my question was, why isn't it possible for it? But you basically answered that.
Okay. All right. Do we have any additional questions before we move on, Miss Paul? Do questions have to click the end to see 100% completion? Or is that something? Yes, they have to go to the end. So it doesn't have to be the end. Whatever your last page is, yes, they'd have to go there to see 100% completion. You can also disable the progress bar. I'm the one who chose to enable the progress bar so that students can see how far they have reached in the lesson. Miss Hall, you're welcome, Miss Paul. Miss Hall, you can take the mic.
All right. Going back, you had said we could use a quiz just to say assess, so students can actually assess themselves to see where they're at, and you also said we could grade them. If we put it as grading, does it mean that all students will have to do it? Making sense?
Right. So you're basically saying if it's a graded assessment, doesn't mean that all students have to do it. Well, would you want all students to do it? Because remember, for each activity, you are able to restrict students' access. So if this is an activity that you don't want all students to do, it's really up to you as a lecturer. You have that autonomy to be able to decide, is this something that you want all students to attempt or not? It's really down to you. But the system does have to do it too.
Okay. All right. Because it's not like the regular test where all students have to do what all students.
Right. So.
Okay.
Right. So it's really up to you if this is an activity that you want all the students to attempt.
Okay, because I'm just saying I could have it there for students to have the option to use it.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking. So I mean, I have it open to all students, but just that they have the option. So if they don't, so even though it's graded, it's being graded does not affect them negatively if they don't do it.
No.
Right.
No.
Right.
Right. So remember that you can determine if you want it to be graded or not. You can determine the overall setup of the lesson.
Yeah, man, I can determine, but I'm just saying if I do make it a grade assessment, I would not want it to be that if a student does not do it because they never thought they needed to do it, because they feel confident about what they have read, I would not want it to work against them because they have
against them,
done it.
Right. Yeah, man, I understand. Yeah.
All
right. So okay, Mr. Panther, go ahead. So I'll say what I'm saying after, or just generally. Go ahead, Mr. Panther.
Yes, afternoon again, and thank you for taking my question. Just very quickly, based on what Ms. Hall just said, just confirm that you're saying that it can be set up so that it is not added to the grade sheet.
Right, so remember that
even though it's graded.
Right, so you get to determine if this is something that you want to be a part of the grade book or a part of the students' final grade, because remember that you have the autonomy to go in and modify the grades in terms of what the students do get to see and what is final in the grade book. Yes, so that is what I'm saying. So what we will do, just to show you, right, so just to show us that, and that is something I was just about to mention to Ms. Hall, we're going to have a session on, well, let me just bring up the schedule quickly. We have a whole session on the grade book. Let me just bring that up. I don't want to give us the wrong date. So that will be a very important session for us to attend as well. But we can't really look at that now. All right, so here it is. Yeah, this is not the correct date. So it would be July 14 for configuring your gradebook, July 14, yes. All right, so that is a session that we should all attend. Miss Williams, yes, you can take the mic.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Are you hearing me?
Yes, Miss Williams, we're hearing you.
All right, question. It's not related to this exercise that you have completed today. I was sitting in a session, and because when we teach modules together, like other lecturers and myself teach the same module, everyone is on the Moodle with that same module. But then in the session, I learned that you can actually privatize your information to your students directly so that everybody else is not seeing all of that. So like the materials, the recording, everything. Would there be a session for that, or have a session gone already?
Right, so that's a good question. So that would actually be addressed in our groups training session. The groups training session would be on Thursday, June 30th. Thursday, June 30th, which is a Thursday at midday. So that would be addressed at that particular session. But yes, when you have multiple lecturers on the course with their own students, it should not be a case where other students are able to see your content, given that you are not responsible for them, lecturing them in that same course. So what you'd be able to do is to create restrict access, so only your group or only your students that you are lecturing are able to see your content, are able to attend your Blackboard Collaborate sessions, and that training session on June 30th will touch on that as well.
Oh, great.
All right, Ms. Williams, I hope you'll be able to attend.
You're welcome. Be there.
All right. Do we have any other questions before we move on? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna switch my role back to normal. So we had reached the end of the lesson. So I'm back in as teacher, back in as lecturer. All right, so the lesson is here. Now, it is telling me I'm not allowed to retake the lessons. So remember that we had, if we look at the settings, so I'm not going to retake the lesson, but I would just want to show us. Right, so provide option to take the question, to try a question again. No was selected. Maximum number of attempts per question, 1. All right, so remember that if we create certain restrictions, it can also work against us trying to, as the lecturer, preview the content. All right. what I wanted to show us now is how to grade. Okay, so if I click on grade essays, what it would show the list of students who have attempted the essay type questions, if there are essay type questions in the lesson. Okay, and you'd be able to come to this section to do the grading. Okay, so I would just click on here, and I'd be able to see the essay type question that was asked. I'd be able to see my students' response, and of course I'd be able to add the essay score. Remember, it is showing 5 because I had set up the maximum score to be 5 for the student to receive when I was doing this question, when I was setting up the question. So I can put in my comments and say the student has responded well. All right, so whatever response I want to give my student, I can enter that here. And then of course, I would enter the score I'm giving the student. Click on save changes, and it now shows that this is graded. So this option here, I think it's new, never seen it before. It says email graded essays. So I'm just gonna click on it to see what it actually does. Never seen it before. All right, so that is loading. I'm assuming email all graded essays would do it on a mass scale. So it says to me that email was sent successfully. So I'm assuming that it actually sends an email to the student about them having received a grade and comment for the essay type question. All right, I'll do further exploration on that just to confirm. Not sure, can't tell you, but I'm assuming that that is what that is. Okay, all right. We have Mrs. Anderson Chong. You can take the mic.
Hi, Michaela and everybody. I came late, unfortunately. Didn't remember about it, but it's the first time seeing that. I'm accustomed to doing this. It's the first time seeing that, and I think that's also a good idea because I tend to have to copy and paste and send it to the students using my email, and I think I like this idea where it's just sent directly to them.
Right, but remember,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks for that. But remember that the student, even though they might not be alerted by the system, remember that they would be able to still go to the grade book to see the grade. But in terms of this, this would just really be like a notification, probably to say that this essay type question was graded.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then we have, so we looked at preview, edit, grade essays. We have reports here. So this basically shows reports for the students' results. All right, you can click on see all course grades. If I click on detailed statistics, okay, it shows the class statistics in terms of response is provided. That I like this. It's like an overall report. 100% of your students checked this answer. So it's like a breakdown of your students' response to each question and just their attempt at the overall lesson, which is good. All right, let me just click back on overview to see if it allows the option to download. All right, so I'm not seeing that. Typically, just like with the quiz feature in Moodle, you'd be able to download like an Excel of the entire attempt from all students at the grades. Not seeing that option here. Okay, so that's basically my demonstration for the lesson. We looked at adding the content pages, we looked at adding the question pages, we switched to our role to student, we were able to go through the lesson, take the question, the hyperlinks worked, and we were able to look at how to grade the essay type question as well for the students. Okay, so finally we're going to move on to our last tool, which is called the glossary. All right, I'm not sure. I know that we might be familiar that the glossary exists, but I'm not sure if it is a tool that is heavily used, but it is so useful. What it does, it allows for a word entries really to be created in Moodle. And it's a dynamic tool because it not only allows the teacher to create terms and their definitions, but also students. But of course, teachers can restrict access to the glossary so that only they alone can create entries, or they can allow students to add new entries as well. And thinking about it now, this could be easily classified as a collaborative tool as well, where students can work together to build like a bank of key terms, you know, even though the teacher can also create the glossary independently. The glossary also has a feature called auto linking. So this is basically where the keywords that you have entered in each entry that can be linked throughout the entire course. Can be linked throughout the entire site as well, but that would have to be done by the admin. But it can be linked throughout the entire course so that each time a student sees a linked word in the course and they click on it, it basically shows a related term in the glossary that is linked to that word. Right. The glossary also has a log feature, and Mrs. Anderson had shown me this some weeks ago. It has a log feature which allows for lecturers to be able to see exactly which student made an entry to the glossary within the course. So we're going to be explaining all of that quickly. So we're still under unit 3. I'm going to turn editing on. Each time you switch your role to somebody else and you switch back to normal role, you have to turn editing on. So activities, glossary. All right, we're going to quickly look at the description because it is saying here that it can be used as a collaborative bank of key terms, can be used as a getting to know you space where new students can add their name and personal details. I would have never thought of that. Very creative. Can be used as a handy tips resource of best practice in a practical subject, can be used for sharing useful videos, images, or sound files, and it can be used as a revision resource of facts to remember. So we're going to add our glossary. All right, so since we're really on the crochet patterns unit, let's call this crochet terms and their definitions. All right, we're really not going to enter crochet terms still, but yeah. Okay, so we can give a description as with all activities and resources. All right, and the option here, it says, is this glossary global? So this is an option I think only admin can see. Let's just click on it too. Right, so it's a global glossary. A global glossary has entries which are linked throughout the site rather than only in the course. Only administrators can get a glossary, can set a glossary as global, right? So as a lecturer, you might not be able to see this option. I think I'm seeing it because I'm in as admin. All right, but don't worry, it doesn't restrict you as far as I'm concerned in terms of linking terms. It just prevents linking site-wide. All right, but we look at that shortly. Now, under entries, we have some options here, approved by default. This is basically saying if you're allowing your students to make entries in this glossary, do you want it to just be approved by default, or do you want to, as the lecturer, click to approve their entry? All right, yes or no. Do you want to always allow editing? If a student has made a submission to the glossary, do you want them to, after 30 minutes, well, do you want them within a 30 minutes time frame after they have entered their entry to be able to edit what they have entered? So it's just like the forum. After the forum entry has been made by the student, they have 30 minutes to edit. After that, they can't edit at all. So this is something that they're asking if you want to do. Do you want to allow for duplicate entries? It says entering the same term and their definition. Do you want to allow comments on entries? If this is something that you want to be collaborative, you can allow for this to be enabled. All right, and do you want to automatically link glossary entries? We're going to click on yes. Okay. Under appearance, you get to choose a display format. There are 7 display formats. You can always click on the question mark to see what each style allows, what type of display each style allows for. Okay. You can choose the amount of entries you want to be shown on each page. Do you want to show alphabetical links? That basically means that students can click on the different letters of the alphabet to see terms under those letters. So A, B, C, and the list goes on. Do you want to show an all link where students can click on all as opposed to the individual letters and see all the entries that have been made? Do you want to show special link? Because entries can be made using alphanumeric. So these can be like symbols. So it doesn't have to be A to Z for the glossary. Symbols can also be incorporated. All right. And do you want to allow for print view? With the print view, students can set up their page and they can print it and it would come out in a very nice format. All right. Okay, so we are gonna scroll down, click on save and display. Okay, and this is what the glossary looks like. There are no entries, it's just a blank glossary. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm going to switch my role to student. Okay, and I'm going to click on add a new entry. And remember, you as a lecturer, you don't have to switch your role to student to add an entry. I'm just doing this from a student's perspective. Okay, so I'm going to enter in the concept field, I'm going to enter the term. I have some here not related to crochet, so education. All right, and I'm going to enter the definition. Good. I could also incorporate multimedia, so I could have a audio recording, I could have you know, video, picture. All right, so it doesn't have to just be text. Very creative. All right, and then under keywords now, I could enter words that are associated or probably even synonymous to education, where if a resource or activity is added to the course using these keywords, the student will be able to click on it and it would take them back to this definition. Okay, so under keywords for education, I could put school, university, teacher. All right, and the list goes on. You can't put the keywords and separate them by colons. Each keyword has to be entered on a new line. So once you enter, you just click on the enter button on your keyboard and you input the other word. All right, and then attachment. If I have an image that represents education, I could include that as well. All right, so I'm going to use this because it looks like a teacher teaching. Upload this file. Scroll down under auto linking. Do I want this entry to be linked? I'm going to click on yes. Do I want it to be case sensitive? If it is case sensitive, if these words are entered anywhere else in uppercase, then it won't be linked. All right, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to just click on save changes. And that is what the entry looks like. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, let's say this is an activity, a collaborative activity, where as the lecturer, I'm asking my students, I've tasked them with the role, with the responsibility of, you know, entering some terms and their definitions, or probably entering some terms and giving what their understanding of this particular word is. You can think of ways to creatively engage your students with the glossary. How would I now know as the lecturer which student entered what? How am I going to assess them? Right? Because if I just come here, I'm just going to switch back my role to normal. If I just come here as a lecturer, let me just click on all. All right, if I come here as a lecturer, it's just going to show me a bunch of terms and their definitions, and I don't know who entered what. Okay, under comments, of course, I could enter my comment, but I don't know who entered what. In order to check on that, I can use the logs feature of the glossary to see who has entered what. So what I'm going to do, top right on this very same page, I could click on logs. All right, and what I would do is to ensure that the correct course is highlighted, all participants, all days, the glossary is highlighted. We're going to change all actions to create. All right, so the only thing that we're changing here is create, and we're going to click on get these logs. Okay, so it shows me that at 1:30, Michaela Peck created an entry. Remember, I switched my role to student to do this. All right, so if I click on entry has been created, it takes me to the space that shows me the exact entry that I entered. So it shows me education was entered, definition, and it also shows a picture. So if I click on the picture, it's going to download to my computer, and I'll be able to click to open it. All right, so that is basically how you get to see which student entered what. It shows the time and it shows the date, additional details. All right, do we have a question? Miss Cameron, Dr. Cameron, I think it is, yes?
Yes, hi.
And then, just a second, and then Mrs. Chung and then Mr. Panther.
Yes, I'm just wondering. Yes, for the glossary and the photo that you added, is there any way to have it like embedded? Because I'm that to
You're going down. So the last thing I heard, if there's
so
any way it can be embedded. All right, so I'm not sure if everybody was able to hear. I only heard she asking.
I think she has internet challenges. I saw where it went
Right.
to. She probably need to type it. I don't know.
All
But
right,
this
so I
should
think
help.
I heard her question. So I'm going to show you, Dr. Cameron. So the option is there. I've never done it personally, but I saw the option. All right, so I'm just going to do it. Click on the glossary. I hope you're able to follow as well. So add a new entry. All right, so let's say the entry I'm entering now is about instruction. I'll take the other questions after. I can copy. All right, so in this space of the toolbar, you have the image option. So if I click on insert or edit image, just going to choose a random, upload this file. All right, so all right, this file cannot be accepted. Let me just try another one. I don't know if that is an image file. Upload. Okay, and save image. All right, so Miss Cameron, I was able to insert the image here. So it's actually embedded and not one for download, but I'm going to save it now and see if it can be previewed in that very same way. All right, so that is it. That's perfect. So with this particular process, the image does not have to be downloaded. It could be a video as well or other multimedia. So good question, and that is the result. All right, I'm seeing your hand is raised again, I think. Okay. Okay.
Miss Peg.
Not sure who that is.
Hi, this is Stephanie. I had my hand up and I put it back down.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just basically saying that that was my question that I was going to ask as well, and you have answered it.
Okay.
Right.
All right. No problem. Mr. Panther. Are you there, Mr. Panther? Okay. All right. So you can take the
Yes,
mic.
I'm here. Sorry about that. It seemed as if there was a delay in my mic being activated. I'm sorry about that. All right, I'm just gonna ask you if you could quickly go back to the log and give just a quick explanation of the description section. I saw a number there. What would that represent?
All right, so let me just edit. Is it? Oh, you mean the description when I'm setting up the
No, what the log itself.
Oh, the log. Sorry, the log. Okay. All right, so logs. Okay, so you're referring to this number here.
Yes, no, that's the IP address in the description. That's 6107 and 45926.
All right, so what the system does is that it assigns a user ID to each participant or user of the course. So it has assigned the ID 6107 to Michaela Peck.
Okay.
All right, so ask me the technology behind the system doing that, I don't know, but it is used to basically uniquely identify me as a user as opposed to using my name here in the description.
So this could not be for Miss Anderson then?
Could not be for Miss Anderson, and it's a unique identifier. It's the same thing for the course. So the course has the unique identification of 45926, and I know this to be so because I'm seeing that as well in the URL section. So it uniquely identifies course, users, and probably other stuff as well in the system.
Well, Miss Peck, you just told me that I really discovered academic misconduct on the part of some students. Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. All right. Okay. Sorry about that. Do we have? Okay, not sure what that reaction is for, Miss Paul. All right, so that is basically how you get to see the logs. And remember, we have to ensure the actions say create, because if we want to see who has created what, and that is how you go about doing that. Okay, Miss Paul. Okay, I figured. All right, so regarding the glossary, let's just go back to it. Here, your students can view by category, right? If their category is set up in the glossary, they can view by alphabet, all right? The option for them to view all, right? That is what we're in now, automatically. So they're able to view all. So with this option, I think this overrides the uploading of the image. So it's better if we embed it, if that is the view that you prefer. All right, what I wanted to demonstrate now, how the keywords thing works, and then I think we should be over. All right, so let's say now, I'm gonna go back to unit 3. Let's say I have uploaded some content, but the content has some of these keywords: school, university, teacher. All right, so let me just add, like, let's say a label, for example, because I want to show you how the auto linking thing works. Let me just add a label, add an activity or resource, activities rather resources, label. All right, so this is a school. Let's say I'm adding content. I hope you understand what I'm doing. I just want to show you how the auto linking works. I basically used the keywords that are in one of the entries that I had entered. I think it's a definition for education, right? And I'm just using back some of the keywords because I want to show you where the keywords occur anywhere in the course. The students would be able to see anything associated to that particular entry. So this is just a label. So I'm gonna save and return to course. And you'll be able to see that these words are linked, right? When I hover, it says there's a glossy entry. All right, so when I click on teacher, it shows it's associated to the word education, simply because I created the definition and term education, and I was able to add the keywords associated to education. So I'm hoping you see how it works. Now, this did not have to be a label. It could be a forum post, it could be an assignment activity, it could be just about any content type, any resource or activity type that you enter in Moodle. Once it is that you reuse the keywords, they'd be linked to the glossary because the glossary was set up for auto linking to take this. All right, I hope that is clear. The glossary, as I mentioned before, you can limit the students' or restrict rather, because remember I'd shown you the option where you can opt to, let me just go back into it. You can opt to choose if you only want yourself to be able to make entries. So this is the option. All right, so if I click on no here, that means that I would have to go in and approve my students' entries. And if I don't approve, only my entries would be shown. So remember, the glossary can be used in a variety of ways. It can just be used for you as a lecturer to present content to your students, which are terms and their definitions or any other thing in a creative way. Or it can be used for students to be able to collaborate and just to share as well using that tool, that feature. All right, do we have any questions? We have reached the end of today's session. We explored advanced tools that allow for content presentation and knowledge acquisition. We looked at the curriculum builder tool, the lesson tool, and we also looked at the glossary tool. I trust the session was useful and that you were able to learn something new, right? As well as we have We have been advertising in the broadcast though, so you'll be able to see that we have another session next week, Thursday at 12. We also continue to advertise the fact that the training modules are online and ready to be taken, right? So if you attempt, and persons have been taking them, which is very good. Persons have received their certificate, badges for each unit, which is good. Remember that if you are not seeing the training module on your dashboard, if you log into Moodle and you're not seeing the training module, that indicates that you probably were not added, right? And you need to send us an email to be added. So this is a dashboard. This is the first page you see when you log in. It's still loading up. Sorry, it is still loading. If you log in and you're not seeing the course here, then you can write to us to give you access. So this is what it looks like. All right, and also the basic training. So that is what would enable you to go into the units and to complete the tasks to receive the badges upon successful completion. Okay, the recording for today's session will be uploaded in the training module in Unit 2. As shown earlier, Unit 1's session recording was uploaded. Unit 2's session recording will be uploaded here. All right, do we have any questions before we go? Any additional questions before we go? Mr. Gordon?
Hi, good afternoon. It's not directly related to what you covered today, but you mentioned the forum post, and something that I wanted to ask is the emails. When we make forum posts, I noticed that emails are sent to the lecturers on the module about the forum post, but not to the students. I'm wondering if there's a setting that should be adjusted for the students to be able to automatically get those emails as well.
Okay, so you're saying that you'd want the students to be notified when the lecturer makes a post to the forum.
Right.
Right. So that is something that is possible. Not all, it's kind of not everybody likes that, in that some lecturers prefer not for the students not to receive a notification. Some prefer for that to happen. There is not a feature within the setup of the forum that would allow you to ensure that students are notified via email. It's actually a system-wide option that the administrators of the site would have to enable. They'd have to activate it. All right. So I'd have to discuss, with my team further, and then that is something, I mean, a decision would have to be made as it relates to that. At current, I think the setting is disabled. I think it is disabled. I know it's possible because it's something I've seen before, where students can be notified about basically every activity, everything in the system, right? What lecturers have done though is to add blocks in the course so that students can see, for example, upcoming events. So as opposed to being alerted via email, they'll be able to see upcoming events in the course, which will show forums, quizzes, assignments that are upcoming and due, and also recent activities block, which can be added to the course as well, which will be able to show to the student what activities have been done in the course most recently. All right, so
Noted, thanks.
That's my response, Mr. Gordon. Yes. Okay. All right. Do we have any additional questions before we go? All right. Good to hear that, Miss Paul. All right. So since we have no additional questions, I want to thank you for attending today's session. A file will be sent out on the broadcast describing what next week's session will be about. Okay. So we will definitely meet again once you attend. All right. So thanks for coming, everyone. Take care and bye-bye.
Okay, thank you and bye.
Thanks for having.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.